And welcome back to Jim's Farming. So it's been a little while since my last video. Been pretty busy with lambing, and to be honest I haven't really felt like doing any filming or anything like that. It's been doing night shift, and yeah, it's just a bit hectic, so that's why there hasn't been a video for a while, but we're very nearly finished. You should hopefully be seeing plenty of lambs being turned out in the next few weeks, months. A few other things going on, and I'm just out now on the sprayer. Just been and washed it out. This is our ryegrass that's growing back quite well. Shame we should have probably grazed it a little bit. And the other day I sprayed it off with Roundup. So just out with the sprayer now, just giving it a wash out, rinse out, because I've got some herbicides to go on the wheat and a fungicide to go on the oilseed rape, and I don't want to kill it off with glyphosate. So I thought it might be a good opportunity now just to run you through my Autosteer, Open Ag Autosteer setup. So one project which I've been working on the last few weeks through lambing is an RTK base station. I now have that up and running, and I'll sort of show you a bit of the progression of that, and I'll also give you a bit of a in-depth look at how I've got my Autosteer set up. It's not quite there, I just need a bit more time, and hopefully I should just tidy it up as time goes on, but it's one of those things, it works, I can get on with it. So had some good results with it in the autumn, on the cultivator, on the drill. I've been using it with the sprayer. The section control probably gets used more than anything else with the sprayer. Works great. So yeah, without further ado, we'll have a look. Here we are in the cab on the John Deere 6230, and pretty simple setup here for the steering wheel drive. Steering wheel motor there, just mounted on a pretty basic bracket, as you can see. Could probably do with a lick of paint, there's a bit of rust on it. Very Heath Robinson, just a Jubilee clip type thing there, holding the motor on. It is a remote controlled car wheel, and it just engaged pretty much by pulling that lever and putting the steering wheel against it. Works great. We'll have a bit of a demo very shortly. So we got a mesh of wires, got a fuse there in line for that. That goes down to my Autosteer controller there. So that's plumbed in, wires everywhere. It's a bit of a state, this cab. Got a button here that activates the Autosteer. If I press that, you can see that'll go green. Agopengps has just had an update, so I think it's version 5.5 maybe, I'm not sure. So what's really good now, this button, when I engage the Autosteer, will engage the auto section control. So you can see here I have RTK, and it is my own RTK furthermore, which is quite exciting. So I've been working on that, but we will come to that shortly. We have here my section controller, which is wired into my John Deere spray controller. So if I just put a bit of power on, we've got some LEDs there that are linked in, so if I flick the switch here they will do that, but they'll also come on when the sections are put on. So if I tap that, that's manual control. There we go, and you can tap those individually to turn them off. Pop, pop, pop. There we go, that's section control off. It also makes a noise now on this new version, which is good. So yeah, all connected by USB. We've got a USB which comes from this unit down here into there. Got my RG Simple F9P RTK to B board in there. That's the GPS receiver, also USB connected. This is also USB connected. And yeah, pretty much it. Just now have a look. This is a steering angle sensor. Do need to replace that there. That's gonna start eating in there. Very simple. Made up a little bracket. Go around the other side. little bracket, a little bit of angle iron, just clamped onto the axle, and then a little kind of U-bolt clamped on there, a little bolt welded in the middle, and that just fits in there. That is, yeah, Land Rover suspension height sensor. Was very cheap. I think I have broken one. It takes a bit of doing to get the geometry right, so it doesn't yank off or get caught on that. It actually got caught on our old John Deere when I was drilling this field and broke off. But yeah, so that connects in there. I think I bought two for like 20 quid off eBay, but looking recently they have gone up in price. So that was just a bit of trial and error, getting position right, getting the geometry right, but not too bad really. Plastic, but pretty robust, pretty cheap to replace. And then that goes, I've got to put some braid over a three core cable that runs up into the cab. Should be able to see our just simple antennae mounted on the roof. So back to my Autosteer demonstration. Had to duck out earlier, so all I do, pop that up into there, engages the wheel. Gonna make sure that one's pressed, and then I press that button. Don't want the section control on, and obviously make sure my auto steer box is on, and it is connected because I didn't do that. So it's currently set to put the section control on when that steers in, and then we're off. I do find with this tractor with the sprayer on, because it's a little bit back heavy, there's not really enough weight on the front, it does wander a little bit, and I've just got to adjust the position of that steering motor. But as you can see, we're on RTK and we are just within a couple of mil or centimeters even of the AB line. Actually, this is a pretty good view of it. So that there is my antenna with the ground plane. Could probably put it a little bit higher. As you can see, there's a bit of a blind spot with the house there, and you can actually see that on the map, which shows the satellites that the antenna can view. Obviously that's the ground plane up there. But actually all around here, apart from that kind of little section of sky, there's fantastic visibility, and I'm getting about 30 satellites in view, so doesn't seem to be a massive issue at the moment. Probably in the summer I might re-evaluate the position of that. I think for the moment, when I'm going to be drilling beans on this field and another field, we'll just leave it as it is. Also, you have a quick look what's in here as well. Did actually have that stuck down with some Velcro, but it's pulled off. Not the tidiest solution, but means it can come on and off pretty easy. That there was a bit of a mistake. That drill the hole out too much for that little grommet. So we'll just slide that off. You can see here the guts of the steering module. Got the Arduino in there. There's an analog digital converter, which is for steer angle. There's a Cytron here, which is the motor driver. Got a fuse in there for the power supply, so that comes straight from 12 volts in the tractor. And then we got the BN0085 there, which gives you kind of the tilt. It's the IMU, and sort of combines with the GPS to give an accurate heading. I believe they're now like hen's teeth and quite difficult to get hold of. But yeah, got a bunch of connectors, circular connectors in the back, USB coming off the back of the Arduino. There we go. So just one more quick look. I didn't really mention much about this. I did just point it out, but just needs a bit more of a tidy up in the box. So this little module is what controls, as I said before, the section control. We've got 5 sections, and it's all controlled by this Arduino down here, and that is connected to these relays. So this little relay module, of which I'm using 5, and pretty simple. That's just basically hacked in. and I've wired it into these switches just to so they essentially just bypass these switches. I can still control it myself. It won't map on the screen, but if I want to manually put them on, I can do it with that. Pretty simple, really. That's, like I say, that's probably the most useful thing. Gets used the most. I don't always use it with the steering angle motor. That lives on this tractor, really. And yeah, it's proven to be probably the best thing about the system. But it tees in with the whole sort of seeding with the RTK and getting my spacings right when I'm tramlining. So, and to be fair, everything I've done in the autumn got a tiny little bit of overlap, which is what I like, to make sure I'm getting full coverage. And yeah, so that is that. So this is the brains behind the base station. Got it mounted up in the slightly messy garage. Need to tidy this cable up. That's to the antenna. Had a USB cable going to the receiver just to configure that, so need to take that off. And I've got a cover to go on it. So just back in the house, and we'll just go through my progression of putting the base station together. So that's the unit now in its kind of finished form. So I managed to lose some screws on the line. Right, so we have here printed circuit board. We'll come to that shortly. We have the RD Simple F9P RTK to B U-Blocks unit. And we have ESP32 that is basically capable of transmitting Wi-Fi. Little LCD screen, various connectors, switches. So you listed boot mode, that's power for the ESP, that's power for the whole board. I've also got in a Ethernet W5500 connector, epoxied in, nice and sealed up. Got a little lead in here, extender for the antenna, coax cable. Power supply in the bottom, that's 5 volts in, and a reset button, or not a reset button, sorry, and a little push button to put it into a configuration mode. So I got this to its current form with quite a bit of help from ESP32. I'll stick the website up. So they provide some kind of software firmware code to upload onto this. There is a small charge for it, but from what it's offering, it seems pretty good. And yeah, I got a website, bunch of tutorials that you can go through how to put it together. Scroll down, I think it's that one. So they have here, supposedly this unit here will actually output the right messages for Trimble and Topcon, which might be useful for some people. Loads of information on the website. Like I say, been very helpful in getting it together. There's a guy, Darren Lobb, he's put out a pretty good video of actually assembling a Autosteer board, and also a bit of video about putting one of these together. He said he ran into some power issues. I find it's okay with a short 5-volt cable, but if I try and put a bit of an extension on, it does tend to, this unit here keeps restarting. But now I'm putting it in a different location, that's not going to be an issue. So that's that video there. Just scroll down, you can see here some circuit diagrams. So just look for RD Simple, it's that one there. So I used this here. So I used that circuit, that sort of schematic circuit diagram, to put together this. This is on Easy EDA. If anybody's interested, I can make this available to them. Essentially, just ESP32 with all the connections linked up. You've got the connector there for the Ethernet module, power supply is the RJ simple unit, switches, buzzer, a little OLED display. And from that, with this online software designer, I drew out this circuit board plan. So that's got everything in it, all the tracings on two sides, couple of connectors there you can see on there, and yeah, so sent off for these online, and I think it's about 20 quid with postage for 5 of them. Got a few going spare, although there are a few issues. That resistor there, R3, isn't actually supposed to be there. That was a mistake. And that IO ref should be connected to 3.3 volts. So I had to wire in, solder in a wire, and there's a 3.3 supply on top of the RJ simple board. Before I got to that, I started off with this ProSite board. So it's got all the header connections and switches, LEDs, power supply, and it looks a bit messy, but yeah, a bit of wire and solder just to make sure it all worked. So just thought I'd get this printed out to just tidy everything up. Did have another minor issue. There's a little track there going to that error LED on this side. You can see it's not connected. Somehow overlooked it on that plan. I traced that out. So I just need to put that right really. There we go. So that is now fixed. If that gets sent off, that'll be perfect. But it's quite an easy fix. It was just a case of scraping a bit of the track off and putting some solder. It's only a tiny little gap. It did take a little while to diagnose that. So if I just plug in a micro USB cable to the esp32, we should come to life. So you can see it starting up, loading a ROM. Ball breaks the connections, and you can see Entrip Caster, that's the mode it's running in. It can also work with RTK to go, which is how I was getting my correction signal before, using someone else's. I haven't actually tried setting that up. It took quite a while to get this right, and I did need quite a bit of support from ESP RTK to get there in the end, but they're very helpful. I won't go into that because the video will go on forever. It's currently giving me an error because we're not connected to an antenna. So if I just press this, I'll put it into configure mode. It starts flashing, and it will create its own little hotspot, which I can connect to with the laptop. So if I just connect it to that, if I just put in the IP address, and see profile there, and we come up to this page here, and I just need to log in name, and through this here we can control everything basically, internet and how it connects, all sorts of stuff like that. Entrip Caster settings, position settings, all sorts. So yeah, all the messages that it sticks out, and whatever mode you want it in, it'll work with radio as well as Entrip, which is Entrip's over the internet. And yeah, once I'm finished with that, I can just click on that, and we are back in main mode. I won't go too much into how I had to set this up. There's quite a bit on the tutorials online, but it did take a bit of doing. Dealing with IP addresses, router settings, and port forwarding and things like that. I have limited knowledge of these things, but I've somehow bumbled my way through it. But yeah, it does work, and you know, I think probably this unit here, like the switch that off. That unit there is the most expensive thing in the system. I have to unplug it. At about 250 quid with an antenna. ESP32 there, that is about 10 quid. There's probably less than 300 quid invested here, or thereabouts, with all the little components, a few resistors and capacitors and little buzzers and switches. So yeah, RTK base station for 300 quid basically. No ongoing subscriptions or anything like that, which is pretty good. And I'll probably, you know, have to have another one of those receiver units on the rover, on the tractor. That, you know, really that's for the steering setup and the section control. I think that's been done with a tablet. It's probably one of the more expensive items as well. It's all been done for probably under £1,000. So yeah, probably 1,200 quid. I've got at the most. I've got a, you know, fully functioning RTK setup with, like I say, no ongoing cost. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask me. Drop me a message, drop me a comment. I'm more than happy to to help people out if they need pointing in the right direction. If I can do it, I think probably anyone can. If you know, you can hold a soldering iron, follow some instructions. There's loads of information available on the Agopengps forum. ESP32, they've been really helpful getting everything set up. And yeah, you know, I can't really take any, I can't take any credit for too much credit for it. There's some really clever people out there. Brian, who invented the Agopengps, and there's also some other very clever people on the out there who've made it all happen. So thank you for watching. Kind of a long video today. Hope anyone who's interested has found some bits of it useful. Like I said, if any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll catch you again for another episode of Jim's Farming.